Hello, hello, hello. It is Dr. Katrina Esau, the creator and founder of Whole, Wives Healing Openly, Leaving Him Exalted. And I need to get in the habit of saying women healing openly. Wives healing openly, leaving him exalted is still a thing. It's something that I have trademarked and coined, but I have recently expanded to be inclusive of all women, whether you are still married or not. And the reason for that choice is because probably 75% of the women that reach out to me are either divorced, they are single, they have been in long-term relationships with these men where they never did get married. They've been together 10, 15 years, some even longer, but they never got the opportunity to walk down the aisle and say, I do, for whatever the reason. But they're still hurting. They've still been impacted by cheating and infidelity, and they want somebody to walk them through it. They want someone that understands where they are. They want someone that won't judge them and that will help them take off the mask of shame and guilt and not feel crazy. So many times when you are in that spot, you feel like you've lost it, you feel crazy, because when you do take the opportunity to venture out and share with people, they look at you crazy. Like, why are you still there? Why are you putting up with it? Why do you even want to fight, for the relationship and all these different things? Or, they are in situations where the husband is saying that's not it. And you're just always, looking for something to be mad about and wants to make them feel crazy. And as I've said to you before, you ain't crazy. It's real. And the pain that comes alongside of it is just as real. So while I will always have something specifically for wives, now other women that may not be still in the marriage have the opportunity of attending the academy. I've always had my one-on-one coaching available to all women that wanted to go through the process, that needed that accountability, that wanted someone to hold them up and accountable for the things that they were doing to help them, walk out their goals. That's always been open. But a lot of times with the academy, a lot of the courses, even though it's for any person that desires to heal, you'll hear me refer to the wife more often than not. And so I'm trying to be better about not singling out that it's just for wives, but to let all women know. So if you're listening to this today and you're saying, I'm not married, but I've been cheated on and I'm still hurting, I'm still angry, I'm bitter, I haven't forgiven, I don't think I can trust again. If you're having any of those concerns or those issues, then you can reach out to Dr. K and she can help you walk that thing out, because all of us deserve healing, because it is the children's bread. And so I want to be in that position where I can help you, whether you decided to stay in the marriage or you decided to leave, because some people can't. It's not about whether that's where they were ordained to be or chosen to be. They decided that they can't, and it don't matter what nobody say, I will not go back. And some make that decision, and that's okay. It's okay. That's your choice. That's why I never put myself in a position to tell you whether you should leave or you should stay, because I don't know what's the best thing for you. If somebody's going upside your head, I'm not going to be in the same house. We can work this out from afar, but I'm not going to be under the same roof and you beating in my head. So we all have very different situations, but the foundational principles are the same that all of us have to walk through. We have to forgive. We have to rebuild trust. We have to have a relationship with God. We have to know who we are, and whose we are. And so those are the pillars that I talk about in the academy. And like I said, they apply to any person. I also teach about communication. And that's something that we all need. So I don't even know why I went down that road, because that's not what I came on here for. But apparently somebody needed to know that and needed to hear it, so that they can reach out to Dr. K and get help. But I came on here today, and I'm not going to be on long. I've had a few consultations today with a couple of my clients. And one thing that has come up repeatedly, and it's not just with them, it comes up probably in 85% of the women that I do talk to. And so if you are one of my clients and you are listening to this, I am not telling your business. You're not the only one. As I always tell you, you're not the only one that's going through this. And so I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit about the road to restoration is not a straight road. Some people feel like when they make the decision to stay and to fight for the marriage, that it's not necessarily that it's going to be peaches and cream, but it's just going to be a straight road. And it's not. You're going to have some twists, some turns. You're going to have some mountains. You're going to have some valleys. You're going to have some detours. You're going to have all of that. But when you have made the decision to stay, you're going to have to hold on to it. And so that's why, again, my focus is always on the woman and her healing, because you have to get healed. Whether you stay or you leave, you need to be healed so that you don't bleed and become bitter toward your husband or toward the new person that God brings into your life. So I wanted to just touch on a couple things today, just to encourage you. Oftentimes some of my clients that says, well, I'm sending mixed signals because I don't believe what he say. I don't believe that he loves me. I don't believe he went to where he said he was going. I don't believe anything that he tells me. If anything he says, I think that it's a lie. And so when you've been hurt, that's natural. It's natural because you violated, you've broken the trust. I've once had, faith in you and believed everything you told me, and only to find out that you violated it by being with somebody else, whether that somebody else is a person or whether you chose to have pornography over me, you still have violated. And yes, I said pornography because sometimes I have clients where their spouses have not necessarily slept with another woman, but they're addicted to pornography. And to them, that's cheating. That's infidelity. That is hurt. You're violating because, again, you are choosing to watch another woman in any type of sexual encounter. That's not me. And so now I'm questioning who I am. I'm, comparing myself and wonder, why do you have to look at this in order to get off and all these kinds of things? So it's still a violation. And so you just have to know that that's a part of the process. There's nothing wrong with you because you don't believe. But the thing of it is you're going to have to be intentional. You got to be intentional about your expectations. You got to be intentional about your response. You can't just leave it up to happenstance to see what's going to happen, because what happens is you end up pulling away from the person. You end up pulling away from your husband, your boyfriend, your fiance, whoever that person is. You pull away. And then now that you pulled away, you've created a void. And so they start responding, acting a different way. And now you're going to internalize that too. And that's the worst thing, because you get in this pattern of I teach it all the time. You have these expectations that are not spoken. You haven't communicated to your husband, to your boyfriend, to your mate, what those expectations are, but yet you have them. And when he does not fulfill, then now you feel some kind of way. Well, you never told him. You never communicated what you need. You never communicated, well, when you tell me that I love you, I don't believe you because you did A, B, and C. And so you're not even giving them the opportunity to change the behavior, because you haven't communicated what about it that you don't like or what's bothering you. You got to dig deeper, because sometimes it's not even really about about the man, about the other person. It's really about what happened to you when you were younger, and that's the kind of stuff that we get into, that we have to dig and get to the root of the issue. Because if you don't ever get to the root, you're going to always be dealing with symptoms and the byproducts, of things happening to you. The other thing that a lot of clients will tell me sometimes is, I see that he's trying to make an effort. He's, doing the work. He said he'll go to counseling, but I'm short-tempered. I don't care what the least little thing he does, it aggravates me. These are all indicators and flags that you have not forgiven your husband. You can say you forgave him all day long, but if you're doing these things, you don't believe what he say, you short-tempered, coming, cutting him off and pulling away. You're not, trying to find that common ground. You haven't forgiven. And that's okay, but you need to recognize it and you need to deal with it, and you need to get to the place where you can truly forgive. Because once you've truly forgiven, you won't have a negative emotion tied to the event, tied to the trigger, tied to the barrier, tied to whatever is going on. you won't negatively respond. So you got to start asking yourself tough questions. And that's what I help the ladies to do, is you got to ask yourself the questions. It's easy to say it's his fault. It's easy to point the finger. It's easy not to look at you. And that's what so many people get so caught up in everybody else's business, your husband included, your boyfriend included, your fiance included, that you don't deal with you. You don't look at what you are contributing to the situation. And so you have to look at all angles and you have to own it. And then the other thing that I get often is, will you coach me if my husband doesn't want counseling? Absolutely. I don't coach husbands. I'm not coaching your husband. I focus on you as a woman. And so it doesn't matter what your husband wants, whether he wants you to, to go to see somebody or not. That's up to y'all, how y'all work that out. But it's not up to him whether you heal. You got to choose to heal. You got to choose to do your work. You got to choose to do what's right for you. It's not about, well, he's not ready yet, or he doesn't want me to do it. What do you want? And that's where I come in to help you be the best you can be. And you getting healed and whole is not contingent upon anybody else, not your husband, your mother, your brother, your children, nobody. That's a choice you have to make, whether or not you're going to get healed, whether or not you're going to do your work, whether or not you're going to build a relationship with God so that you can get insight and direction. You have that choice to make. It's yours. It's not mine. And it's not your husband's. And so don't sit back and say, well, I'm not going to take a course. I'm not going to take your course or go to your seminar because my husband is not ready to change yet. What does your husband have to do with you getting healed? What does your husband, your boyfriend, your fiance have to do with your development, your training, your healing, your forgiveness? That's not their responsibility. So in my opinion, I always see that almost as a cop out, because you're not ready. And so you want to put it on somebody else because you haven't really decided what you want to do. You haven't really committed to getting better. You haven't really committed to the healing. Sometimes we're in a thing for a long time that it becomes natural and normal that we don't even see the issue with it. But everybody else around us can see it. And when you get to that place, it's hard to change because you've been doing it for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. It's who you are. It's what you've seen. We've accepted it as that's the norm. There's nobody in my family that has a good marriage. So that's just the way it is. All men cheat. All men are dogs. Once a cheater, always a cheater. We hear all this stuff. And because that's what we've heard from people we trust and believe, we go for it. So we don't try to do the work. So don't dictate, or don't let your significant other dictate to you your growth. And this is not about causing division in home. God is not the author of confusion. And when there's two visions, there's division, which is two visions. And this is unstable at that point. We are individuals and we own our growth. We own our development. We own our healing process. We own our journeys. We can't put the blame on somebody else. It's not somebody else's fault because you don't want to do your work. So don't tell me, well, I'm not going to take the course because my husband is still talking crazy to me. That's why you need to take the course. Because you need to heal so that you can care enough about yourself and value yourself enough so that you can set boundaries, that people don't disrespect you like that you can be confident enough to check people when they, disrespect you. And I'm not saying going around and be a trouble starter. That's not what that is. But you know what? You are going to respect who I am. We don't have to agree, but we can agree to disagree, and you're going to respect my position. We're not going to always agree on everything. But if I respect you as a person, as an individual, lay the title down. If I respect you as an individual, then I'm not going to come at you sideways and talk to you like I'm crazy. So stop putting it off on other people. Stop making it other people's problem. And it's other people's fault. My mama did this. My mama wasn't there. My daddy wasn't there. And if you would have done this for me, I wouldn't have turned out this way. And if my father would have been in my life, then I wouldn't, expect no man to treat me or wouldn't allow a man to treat me this way. It's not everybody's fault. You know, what happened to you happened. I don't take that away from you, but you make a choice. My daddy left us when we were little. My parents divorced at a young age, but I didn't allow that to cause me to just say, well, oh, it's going to always be this way and all this kind of stuff. No, matter of fact, it went the other way because I was constantly trying to prove that I could do it without him being there. So it turned me into an overachiever, you know? And so I think I would rather the overachiever than to sit and just say, woe is me, and you know, let life happen to you and blame everybody. No. And I'm grateful for where I am now, because even though I was an overachiever trying to prove something, I've learned now that it was nothing ever to prove. That was my own issue. And I had to deal with it. I had to forgive my dad for leaving us. I had to, you know, learn how to rebuild trust, not only in my marriage, but in other relationships, because my dad was the first role model, was the first male figure that violated and broke my trust because he left us. And so, although my husband is where I thought it stemmed and where I thought that was the root of it, it wasn't. My dad, it had, that's where the root, that's where the door got opened. And so then other things happen, but I'm grateful for where I am now, that I've been able to forgive my father and that I'm in a place where I can trust another man, you know? And so you have to get to the root. You know, a lot of times things happen to us at a young age. And that's why I say the road to restoration is not a straight road. Because when I started walking this thing out and going through it, I didn't expect God to show me, you know, that I needed to go back and forgive my father. I love my dad. You know, and so I didn't expect that. I didn't expect him to show me that that's where my inability to trust came from, because my father violated that when he left. I didn't know that. So I had to go back. I had to go backwards before I could go forward. I had to go back and get it right with my father. Although what I thought was a great relationship that we started to rebuild ever since, you know, when I turned 18, when I was graduating from high school, that's when my father came back into my life. So I thought it was all gravy, but no, all those years I just had covered it up. I covered it up in my overachieving. And so when God took me backwards, it's like, okay. And so there's times where you're going to have to go back. There's times when you have to take a detour. When I was going through my thing with my husband, you know, I tried to get a divorce 3 times. I did not want to do it. It was painful. I was hurting. It didn't look like he wanted to do anything. He was still out there, you know, hoeing around, and he wasn't ready to stop. And so I'm not going to just put my life on pause while he figure it out. No, you know, Lord, release me from this and let me get with the man that you have created for me, that's going to love me and treat me the way they're supposed to be treated. But that was my story. I felt like Hosea. No, going back out there on the butcher block and get them again. I know that they're a hoe. But I called you, Esther, for such a time as this. So we don't know a lot of times, but that's why it's important that you have a relationship with God. That's why it's important that you get that vertical right, because if you get the vertical right, all your horizontal relationships will line up. And so that's why it's important. You know, I've been where you are. I'm not just calling you out to do it. I've been there. I've been to where I didn't want to do it because he didn't want to. I've been there where I wanted to say, you know, God, you let this happen, and blame God, blame my parents, blame my husband, blame all these people. But no, I'm going to make a decision. And I choose healing. I choose to do it God's way. I choose to see the healing power of God, because God just wants to get the glory. And if you will submit and surrender to him, he'll get the glory out of your life. He'll turn that mess into a message. He'll turn that test into a testimony. You know, we say all these cliches, but it's really true. It's really true. God is not trying to hurt you or to harm you. Yes, you went through some stuff. Yes, it's been painful. Yes, it's been a pattern. But you have been chosen for such a time as this, to break the back of the enemy, to break the pattern, to break the generational curse, you know, to go down the side street, to go around, you know, to take the detours, to do whatever you need to do to get to a place called whole, to get to a place called heal, where there's nothing broken, nothing lacking, nothing missing in your life. That's where God wants to get you. He wants you to take off the mask. Take off the mask. Stop saying you're okay when you're not. Stop saying there's nothing wrong with you. Stop saying I've forgiven, I trust him, I do this, but then your actions say something completely different. Make sure that your actions and your word are in sync, that they line up, you know, and tell the truth and shame the devil. It was a process, and I didn't get here in a year. I didn't get here in 6 months. I didn't get here in 2 years, 3 years. It took about 7 or 8 of them years for me to get to where I am, where I'm healed, where I can say I forgive my husband, where I can say I not only love him, but I'm in love with him. God, if he did it for me, he can do it for you. It's an honor. This year we'll be celebrating 26 years of marriage. We just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary in December of 2020. That's a blessing, and all glory and praise go to God, because it's only by his grace that we were able to do that. And so I love sharing my story. I love sharing it with, women that are hurting, that are broken, because I know that they need help. I know that they need the encouragement. I know that they need to know, you need to know that you're not alone. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. You just got to understand the process and know that it's not a destination. It's a journey. You get better as you go along the journey. As those years went by, I got better. I got better. My healing got better, and now here I am. We just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, but I still have to be aware of barriers. I still have to be aware, of the triggers. And I have to guard my mind. I have to guard me. I have to guard our marriage. I have to take care of me. That's the one thing that I didn't do, early on. I didn't take care of me. I got lost. I got lost with trying to be a mom, trying to be a wife, trying to climb the corporate ladder. I got lost in all of that stuff. I didn't know who Katrina was. What does Katrina love to do? Where does she love to travel? And so I had to find myself. That's another one of the pillars we talk about is self-care. It's time to love you. You love everybody else. It's time to love on you. You're worth it. You got Mama Nim, Pookie, Ray Ray, all of them, Keisha, all of them at the top of the list. Put you at the top of the list. As they say when you're flying, put the mask on you first, and then you can help somebody else. Get healed first yourself. Go through your process, start taking those steps, and your husband will come along. The word says that the character and the conversation of the wife has the ability to change the unsaved spouse. And I'm not saying that your spouse or your mate is not saved. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying with that demonstration is your behavior has the ability to provoke change in him. That's what I'm saying. So when you start acting stuff out, when you start living and not just talking one thing, when I first started, I was talking a good game. I was going to church, doing all that stuff, but I was coming home raising hell. But when you start living what you're speaking, they will notice and change will begin to happen. And it'll get just like my husband, when I was going through, I started going counseling on my own because I was tired of my emotions leading and guiding me. I wanted to be solid. I didn't want to be tossed to and fro. I got tired of being up today, down tomorrow, up this hour, down the next hour. I got tired of that. And so I started going to counseling on my own. And then he came alongside and said, honey, I want to go to counseling, because he saw that I was taking action. And so we did individual counseling first. And then we started doing marital counseling, and that changed our lives. That changed the trajectory of our marriage. That's why I'm here today. That's another reason why I'm here today, I should say, because the main primary reason is because of God and his grace and his mercy. But, you got to do your part. So don't expect it to be, even if you see, well, oh, he did this or he said that, that's great. And, when my clients come and they'll be like, oh, well, he's going to counseling today, starting today. That's wonderful. And I'm not trying to knock that, but it's going to take more than just one day. You're going to have to do it consistently to rebuild trust. Rebuilding trust is not based on a one-time event. You got to do what you say you're going to do consistently, repeatedly. You got to keep showing up. And when you do that over a period of time, you get to the place where, okay, he really is going to do this thing. And so I said all that to say, don't get distracted easily by the detours, by the reverse, by the take this windy road. Don't get distracted. Keep your hand to the plow. Stay planted. Stay committed to the decision that you've made and give it all that you've got. That's why I tell you over and over again, make a decision. Because when you make the decision, now you can stay committed. You can commit to that decision and give it 100% of you. You got to give it everything. You can't give it 50% or 30% because you're going to find yourself frustrated. You're going to find yourself tired. You're going to find yourself wore down. And it's because you're not giving it everything. You're not sure if this is what you want to do. Is it going to really work? You're trying to go through the motions, but in your mind, you got a backup plan. Well, if it don't work, this is what I'm going to do. If he doesn't act right, then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a year. If this don't happen, I'm out of here. If you're making those kind of plans and backup plans, you ain't in it. You haven't decided. You haven't committed. When I made the decision, when I finally got to the place where I really committed to seeing my marriage restored, getting a divorce was no longer an option. Did it get better overnight when I made that decision? Absolutely not. It was tough. It was draining. It required a lot of work. But I could not keep going back to divorce option, separation option. I could not go to that. I had to focus my energy on what restoration looked like to me, what healing looked like to me. My planning and my strategy had to be about my decision. And my decision is I wanted to see my marriage restored. I wanted to see my marriage mirror what God said in his word. I wanted to see his promises fulfilled in my life and in the life of my marriage. And so if you have all these backup plans, check your commitment, check your decision, check your heart, and make the necessary adjustments. Okay? All right. It is late. I am about to get up off of here and go rest. But I thank you for tuning in. Share it with a friend, somebody that you know that needs the help and the encouragement. You can find out more information by going to my website to learn more about me and what I stand for and who I am. And it's scrolling there on the screen. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Dr. K. Y'all have a great day.